Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Today we're talking Week 15 game preview for the Vikings at the Chargers. Looking at the Vegas over-under for this one, it's right at 45, and the spread is very, very narrow. It's 1.5 points, so that puts the Vikings at around 23, Chargers at around 21-22. This is one I'm definitely going to disagree with Vegas on this one. I think the Vikings are a much better team than the Chargers, and I don't necessarily understand why the spread is so small. I think the Vikings win this one pretty easily. I definitely agree with the lower over-under here, so I would take the under. I'm not expecting this to be too high scoring of an affair. It definitely could become that way, but smart money says it won't. Let's give you guys a quick recap for those of you that are just coming here for quick advice and need to get going back to your busy lives. Quarterbacks, we're second guessing starting Cousins this week. I'm looking to go elsewhere, and I'm definitely sitting Rivers. On the running back side, we're starting everyone here. Dalvin Cook, Austin Ekeler, Melvin Gordon, all great starts. Receivers, we'll start Keenan Allen this week. Definitely consider starting Thielen. I'm looking to pivot off of Diggs if I have a better option, and I'm not going to try to get another touchdown out of Mike Williams. On the tight end side, I'm second guessing starting Hunter Henry this week. It's hard to do that because he's been so solid, but he's had a few down weeks. So if you have a better option, we're going away from Henry, and then we're also sitting Rudolph this week. I'd like to start the Vikings defense, and I'm second guessing starting the Chargers defense. But let's get into why. So we'll start with the away team. We'll start with the Vikings. Now, looking at Kirk Cousins, he's been doing pretty good. And from a fantasy perspective, he's actually been pretty hard to bench. He didn't have a great game last week, but up to this point, he's been pretty solid over the second half of the season. Now, the Chargers have only allowed one top 10 performance to the quarterback position on the season, and the 30th in points allowed over the last 5 weeks. If this ends up in a defensive battle, Cousins will likely underwhelm. I know that there's always a chance for him to blow up, but I think there's much better options elsewhere. I'm not relying on Cousins to get me to the fantasy championship this week if I can avoid it. With the running backs, you shouldn't need me to tell you to play Cook with confidence. And then Alexander Mattison is actually out of this game, so Cook should be an absolute smash if he stays healthy for the whole game. I think Cook is a great play. The receivers are interesting. In the last 5 weeks, no team has been better against fantasy wide receivers than the Chargers. Now, Thielen is off the injury report as of today, so he's coming back this week. I'm definitely more inclined to start Thielen. This time, I think the Vikings played it safe, and Thielen will most likely come back fully healthy, and I think he gets used like his normal self in this game. Diggs is a rough question. While he'll likely be okay, I'm not expecting too much from any wide receiver in this game, and if you're able to pivot off of Diggs, I think this is one of his down games, and the likelihood of him blowing up is very low in this one. It's not, again, neither of these guys are a must bench, but I do think that there are better options out there. If you have them, I would go away from these guys, but definitely between the two, I like Thielen more. Looking at the tight ends, the Chargers are 20th in points allowed to the tight end. Rudolph will really only make you happy if he scores a touchdown in this game. With Irv Smith and other options in the red zone getting targets, I'm looking elsewhere this week. I'm not trusting Rudolph. I really like the Vikings defense because I like this game to hit the under of 45. I think the Vikings can force a few turnovers and sacks in this one, so that makes the Vikings a great start even on the road. Looking at the Chargers, quarterback Phillip Rivers, he's had a nice few games coming off 4 weeks of mediocrity, but this game is a much tougher test. The Vikings are playing for playoff spot right now. They're still trying to win the North, and the Chargers don't really have too much to fight for. The Vikings have only allowed 3 top 10 quarterback performances on the season and are 24th in points allowed in the last 5 weeks, so I'm not chancing it with Rivers on my fantasy team this week. The running backs are simple. We're playing Ekeler, we're playing Gordon. If the Chargers score, it's likely going to be on the ground with one of these guys. Receivers, while the Vikings don't allow many points to the quarterback, they do allow more production to the wide receiver. They're 11th in points allowed in the last 5 weeks. I think at this point you're starting Keenan Allen, especially in PPR. If in standard, I'd be shying away from Allen a little bit, but in PPR he always carries that nice 5 reception floor for you. But I'm not buying the touchdown regression with Mike Williams. He got one last week, but I'm not banking on one this week. All right, so here's the fun one. Tight end for Hunter Henry, the Vikings are 27th in points allowed to the tight end over the last 5 weeks. Henry has regressed kind of back to the mean over the last couple weeks. He hasn't done too well. He did score a touchdown for you last week, which helped your day, but without that, he performed really poorly. He's really hard to bench, but if you have a better option, this is a really poor matchup. I would probably take it. And then looking at the defense, the Chargers D has been playing admirably, but they aren't a must. So they're not a must bench here, because if this game does hit the under, then there's a chance that it's just a really, really low scoring affair. But I wouldn't want to start them against a Vikings offense that isn't committing many turnovers or allowing many sacks. And considering I am banking on the Chargers losing this one pretty handily, I'm not looking to start the Chargers defense this week. Okay, well, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Get you back to your busy lives in this holiday Christmas season. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you do, please like and subscribe for more content all season long, and we'll see you in the Fantasy Championship. Take care.